our team and I just have a few slides, so you guys are lucky. We're going to get right to the important stuff of the webinar. But so I have Dan Russell here with me. Dan is our CTO. Dan and I both have been with the company, I guess if you add it up, 20 plus years. But I guess first off, thanks for joining. We put this invite out with a very short time frame. We wanted to do this in front of a couple events that we had coming up in our region. So I appreciate you jumping on and joining us for this presentation. I think it's going to be a good one. We will be recording this, so if you had somebody that you think needed to see this or you want a refresher, we will send that out shortly after the presentation. There's also a Q&A, so we have the audio turned off for now. We'll turn that on at the end so you can ask questions via audio. But in the meantime, if anything comes up during this, we want this to be an open dialogue and make sure we're answering your questions. So please submit those in the questions tab on the bottom. So without further ado, I'll get started on us. So who are we? For the people that don't know us or maybe know us very little, I know we have a lot of loyal customers on. So Cove Consulting, we're based in Bozeman, Montana. We have locations spread out through Montana and Wyoming, and you can see by the dots on the screen there, we're in a lot of places. We've been in the industry for 24 years, really focused on K-12 in the past. That's really been the core of our business. We have done a lot outside of K-12 as well. So I think we have a mix of customers on this, and we appreciate that. So keeping moving here, cybersecurity focus. So that's really been something we have tried to hang our hat on and try to answer the bell for our customers as we are seeing the risks and seeing the damage it's doing for customers out there, and so we're hoping to help you there. Dan Russell serves on the National Security Council for Sophos. He's part of their team, and it's a really valuable asset for us to be a part of that Sophos team. I just currently joined the Meta Network Security Council team here in Montana, which has been great, trying to work with that team to answer some of the problems that we're facing with our schools and other entities around the state. A big one for us, and you can actually go to the next slide, Tom. We won the sorry, I thought that it was the security award was the next one, but we won the National Cybersecurity Award for Sophos last year. So we are very proud of that, being a small company here in the Rocky Mountains. Pretty awesome opportunity for us to win that award from Sophos, and we hopefully we can win more in the future. So I'm going to kick it right over to Tom here. So, and I thank everyone for joining, but I also thank Tom Bailey with Sophos for jumping on and doing this. Tom is the head of product marketing for Sophos as far as the endpoint server and Sophos Central goes. So a lot smarter than I am, and really a benefit for us to have him on this call. We were just talking. Sometimes we feel in the Rocky Mountain states, or the flyover states, as some people call them, we're sometimes the last people to hear of new and upcoming things. And what Tom informed me of is some of these slides that we're going to see today, we might be some of the first people seeing them, as he's going to be presenting this basically all over the world here for the next couple weeks. So pretty awesome for us to be on the front end of that. And so I'm going to kick it right over to Tom and stop babbling here and really get it to the star of our show, I guess. So Tom, I'll kick it over to you.
Thanks very much. Look, and I want to thank the entire Pine Cove team for hosting today. Look, I don't consider flyover states. If I get an opportunity to stop in your backyard, I stop. That is some gorgeous country there, so I do make every effort to come out that way. I look after product marketing for Sophos. I'm based in Boston. It's not where I hail from originally, so you won't hear the accent. But I look after endpoint server, the Sophos Central, which is our management platform, security analytics, which is a newer space for us, and then I also look after some of our MSP business. Today we're going to talk about phishing, and we made an acquisition, strategic acquisition at the tail end of last year, a company called Phishing Threats. And interestingly enough, the technology or the IP for that comes out of Utah, so not too far from the Pine Cove headquarters, of course, but we're excited about this new technology, and when you couple it with the rest of the technology that we have within Sophos, there's a really great story about how we can fight phishing. So you'll note the Phish reference here. This is called shaking the hook. We're going to get into phishing proper. What I like about phishing, unlike so much of what else I talk about, is that normally in presentations I'm at the front of the room or at the front of a stage or on a webinar like this, and I'm talking about exploit mitigation. I'm talking about heap spray attacks. I'm talking about crypto ransomware and all the different variants and all the different formats. The great thing about phishing, despite the fact that there's a lot of nuances and there is some really interesting technology that the attackers are using, phishing is kind of like that Samuel L. Jackson movie. It's like snakes on a plane. You know exactly what you're getting. Almost everybody really understands what phishing is all about. So we're testing slides here. However, if you believe that this is a presentation from Pine Cove on how to improve your fly fishing and or trout or bass fishing, this might not be the right one for you, right? So we're going to have a lot of fun with the word phishing, and trust me, we have a lot of fun here at the team. Let me get into it in a serious manner. Phishing is an interesting dilemma for the security industry as a whole, in large part because it targets the end user. The end user ends up becoming the weakest link within any organization. Sometimes we refer to the end user as the human firewall, right? They end up getting the brunt of a large deal of attacks. If you've been watching Sophos, as you've been watching the industry when it comes to endpoint, you'll know that this whole next-gen endpoint phenomena within the industry has a lot to do with the fact that traditional methodologies have failed in large part because new attack vectors have been going after the end user. And the phishing space is the same. Phishing has evolved in lockstep with what we see within the malware, the ransomware as a service phenomena. I'll show you an example actually of Phishing-as-a-Service in a moment. The phishing attacks themselves, they're very much designed to attack an end user and looking to exfiltrate data, and or they're probing what is otherwise a very soft target in order to drop malicious code. It's not necessarily the end user that they're after. The end user ends up being the entry point. In many cases they could be. When you look at, for example, a whaling attack, whaling is where you get an email impersonating your boss. Or the CEO or an executive member of your company. And those are specifically designed to try and get information from that individual, but for the most part, we're trying to lure a soft target. End users are soft in large part because we are naturally curious animals. We all have email at work. We all have email at home. We are all generally eager to help. So we get an email and it says, hey, I could use a little bit of help. Can you click on this attachment? Can you go to this website? As a result, we're naturally curious. We're also recently empowered when you think about all the connected devices that we have at work as well as at home. The Internet of Things contributes to that a great deal as well. We feel savvy enough in order to make our own decisions. We're not calling legal asking if we should open emails. We open emails. So there's a number of ways to approach the problem, and one of those ways is around security awareness and training. I'll touch on that in particular today. That's the real technology and the IP that we gained from this acquisition. So let's look at the problem statement. When we look at 2016, and I'll just run through this relatively quick, we're in tax season again here in North America, and when you look at this time of year in 2016, there was a bit of a spike that happened, and it ended up being the highest on record by the IRS. The IRS just a couple weeks ago issued a new press release warning the public about phishing. The Knickers botnet went quiet in around the May time frame. We saw Brexit happen within the UK, and we suddenly saw a huge spike around that. We saw a surge around virtual servers. That was about 10% of the total attack vector that we saw in October, November of this last year. And then all of a sudden that botnet went quiet again and things began to drop off. You can see the botnets are actually doing a great deal of the spamming, a great deal of the phishing attacks themselves. So the phishing industry as a whole as part of the advances within that attack vector, it's become more and more automated. When you look at the trends and you can stack 2016 over 2015, you can see that it's a dramatic increase. In large part, that has a lot to do with ransomware. Ransomware in and of itself is obviously not a phishing attack. However, it is a major payload for the majority of either spam or malware that comes from email or from phishing attacks themselves. When you stack this up a little bit differently and you get a different view, you begin to see the overall views at a country level. The U.S. is #1. As a matter of fact, and I think I built it out here on the slide, informationisbeautiful.net is they do all sorts of infographics, and I cut this one. Canada's doing super well with personal freedom, and Mexico with lemons, and Cuba's got good doctors. The one thing that the United States is #1 in right now is spam emails. So the U.S. is #1 when it comes to the attacks. You can see the other countries, they rise and fall, oftentimes based on recent news and events. The best spammers, the best phishers, if you will, are leveraging current affairs within countries, and they go and attack. You saw that in the Brexit example. Overall, there's a ton of data. I'll just touch on a few of these here. The phishing phenomena falls into what the FBI considers to be the business email compromise marketplace. That is, in 2016, was a $3.1 billion market. So that's in damages. Right, so it's crazy. When you look in the middle section there, the Verizon report indicates that the phishing emails, CTR is click-through rate. Phishing emails have a 6x over marketing emails in terms of click-through rate. Right, so that's, as someone who's in marketing and who's worked around, you know, emails that are sent from marketing organizations, that is a phenomenal return. Right, so it shows you just how susceptible the end users are. The last one speaks to whaling. This one is where 35% of the surveyed indicated that the email was impersonating the CEO. So net, there's a ton of data that's out there. I'm not intentionally attempting to sell purely based on fear, but the damages have been rising, and they've been rising dramatically. So let's do a little fish spotting and understand what the space is. So there's different forms of phishing. There's mass phishing, there's spear phishing. I touched on whaling. There's also phishing attempts that come across mobile devices. This is referred to as smishing, which is like SMS phishing, smishing. And then there's still forms of, and it's resurging a bit, around leaving voicemails. And this is referred to as vishing, as in voice phishing, vishing. But effectively, they're hoping to get the recipient to go ahead and open an attachment, click on a link. They're looking for them to transfer confidential information in many cases, and or provide keys to the larger organization such that the attacker can do a lateral movement. And a good example of mass phishing, and you've probably seen this in your personal inboxes or some of the employees and or students, you'll get these types of messages indicating that in this case your Netflix account or your Amazon Prime account has been suspended. What they're really hoping for is that you're going to click on that link. If you hover over a link like that, you'll note that it's probably not going to a secure HTTP protocol. It's probably not going to a Netflix.com account. Right? They're luring you in, and they're getting better and better at looking legitimate. The other type is around spear phishing. Spear phishing is where they're getting information about you, and it's a targeted attack, right? So they're looking for specific assets within an organization. They're hoping to get you lured into providing confidential information about the organization or giving you access to, frankly, where the real information that they want is, and that's usually in the data center or on some critical server. But in this example, you can see, and I chose a British example, but this is effectively the equivalent of the IRS for the UK. But here you can see, you know, it looks very much like an official form. It looks very much like it was tailor-made for the recipient. I'll show you another example of that in a moment. There's all sorts of subsets of this, but spear phishing is basically, this is where the attacker, as opposed to a mass distribution, Like the Netflix example, spear phishing is where they're doing their homework, they're getting detailed information about their target such that it looks more and more legitimate. All of this is part of this business email compromise. So here's how you would go ahead, and I'm picking on poor Mr. Zuckerberg here, and I'm going to pick on him a couple of times in this presentation, in large part because Mark Zuckerberg owns Facebook, of course, and he gives a great deal of information about himself. And what a typical attacker will do, and I'll take you through this in a moment, is that they will go ahead and just leverage the internet to be able to scrape information off of Facebook, off of Twitter, off of Instagram, off of any of the social media sites in order to pull information such that they can better target that individual. Think about this in your environments, largely within academic institutions. This could be like targeting someone within a specific college or targeting someone within a specific public and or private school, right? You're going after an individual, you know that they have exams coming up or something, or they're preparing for some sort of a financial review, right? And you go ahead and tailor the message very specifically to that individual, attempting to lure them in. All of this compounded, of course, by this notion of phishing as a service. So we've seen this, and it's an epidemic. All of these as a service platforms that come up, and we see them most recently in the form of ransomware as a service. And I'll show you a good example of that in 1 second. But the phishing as a service platforms follow the same format, whereby malware as a service or ransomware as a service, these armed with a wallet full of bitcoins, a Tor browser, which allows me to access the dark web, I can go ahead and create a malicious payload, or in this case, I can leverage an account to go ahead and do some sort of a phishing attack. Now this particular site, this was a Russian one, you can see it is in Cyrillic. This one is no longer available. It's similar to a very famous one on the malware side of the house called Black Hole, also not available. But the problem with these sites is as soon as the authorities take one down, it's kind of like the notion of Hydra. You cut off one head and 9 other grow back. So they are constantly popping up on the internet. We're constantly seeing this within the dark web, and this entire as-a-service phenomena is what is really fueling and driving the majority of malicious code that we see out there today. So this is a video. This is me on a Tor browser and the dark web. I am on a site that is referred to as Satan. It is going to allow me to create a ransomware payload. I sped it up a little bit, but I have now logged in. It's verified me. I'm going to ask it to create a ransomware payload. It has just done that. The only thing that was stopping me was I had to enter that CAPTCHA account. What I just did was created ransomware called ransomware.exe. If I'm smart, I'll actually change the title of that. And I've saved it off to my desktop. Next up, what I would do, of course, is I'd get on Facebook. I'd take a look at our friend Mr. Zuckerberg. I'd go ahead and look at where he works. I'd get information about who's in his life. I'd take a look at where he lives, all the contact basic information, right? All of this I'm going to use as ammunition or as information in order to build out a spear phishing attack, right? Once I've built all this, and as you can see, Mark in particular gives a great deal of information as you would expect. Given his role at Facebook, he's trying to set an example. But I mean, everybody's susceptible as a result. Once we've done this, or now that I've got all of this collected, I can then go ahead and create a phishing attack itself. There are several key positions that are typically targeted. As you can imagine, one of them is IT. Why IT? You would think that the IT folks are the most savvy. And while that is, for the most part, true, you're also the most busy. Right? So you're moving through emails very, very quickly. You're moving from, closing tickets or setting up new projects or rolling out new software, whatever it is you're doing. As a result, you're very, very busy. But from an attacker's perspective, you also have the keys to the kingdom. It's actually your machine that I want most of all. I might want HR, I might want finance, but if I find someone who's junior in HR or someone junior in finance, it's not going to have the information I want. I want that super user password, right? I want to be able to get into a master account such that I can do a lateral movement from your machine into the data center for your organization. So what I'm going to show you here, Chris Hagerman is the CEO of Sophos, and this is a classic example, and this is a real email that did come in. What you'll note here, of course, is what's referred to as spoofing. Spoofing is where it doesn't say sophos.com. Instead, it says totalprotect.net. Now, this will fool some people, not everyone, right? Usually what happens in a true attack is that you will end up seeing a bit of a hijack, usually using an exploit, but someone breaking into the mail service itself. Targeted attacks from an aggressive adversary will not be stopped. And so this is another example of something that has come through many organizations, and even our executive staff, we do see things like this. So you'll see an email that comes into an individual within an organization. That individual responds. Of course they'd respond. It's to the CEO of the company. From here, they're saying, I need a favor. I need you to transfer some money. And then, of course, as you can imagine, the emails continue, and you end up seeing that payload being made. So we see a great deal of this type of activity. The spoofing of emails still works, but the majority is legitimate, and/or it's linking you, it's bringing you to an external link. In this case, it could be downloading ransomware or some other malicious information, or it's doing some sort of data harvesting. So let's talk about anti-phishing as we have it from within Sophos, now that we've unpacked the problem statement. We refer to this as weapons of mass prevention, but we've got a number of different technologies, and the way we layer this, or we feel this is the best way to layer it, is this notion of the front line, which is both our email as well as our web gateway. Here we're looking for email scanning, we're scanning for malicious code, we've got an anti-spam engine, we're looking for URL filters, looking for spoofing emails. So again, if it doesn't have a proper domain name, we'll flag it. At the web gateway side, we'll be able to block known bad websites. We've got time of click, which is TOCs. So if you click on something, we'll do a quick scan on the website that it's about to take you to. And then there's the whole notion of sandboxing, so being able to open up a file within a protected sandbox and let it detonate there, for example, if it is a piece of malicious code. The next level down, of course, though, is the user inbox. So here it's largely about training. It's doing attack simulation. It's training and testing, and then lastly is reporting. I'll show you more about Phish threat in just a moment. And then what we refer to as our very last line of defense is sort of the hallmark of our next-gen platform around endpoint, and that has everything to do with exploit mitigation or exploit prevention. It has our anti-ransomware technology built in. We can clean up any malicious code, and then we've got an incident response component around root cause analysis. So here you can see lots of different defenses from Sophos in order to combat the epidemic of phishing. Many customers have told me, they said, well, what if I just bought into your last line, right? What if I were to just go with Intercept X, which is an okay strategy. It's better than nothing at all. And while you could rely upon something like a next-gen solution, or in our case Intercept X, to stop the actual malicious code from executing, it won't stop things like end users going to websites and entering information into fake forms. Right? Intercept X can't do that. Next-gen endpoint protection can't do that, unless, of course, the URL is known bad. The analogy I've often used is just because I know I have airbags and a seatbelt, it doesn't mean that I should be able to take my eyes off the road. Right? You still want to be able to have the front line, and then in particular focus in on the user and focus in on attack simulation and training. So let me talk about that specifically, and that was this new asset that we made late last year, Sophos Phish Threat. IP asset, so we ended up picking up the technology as well as the team. We folded it very quickly into our management platform, SaaS-based, which is Sophos Central. I won't go through the description on this one, but it is a very, very basic and easy premise to understand. First and foremost, you pick a phishing attack. From there, you pick a security training module. You enroll your end users, you send it out in the form of a campaign, and then you sit back and you manage the results. Right? So you've got a dashboard. I'll take you through individually each one of these. So here you can see screenshots of Sophos Central. You've got the admin dashboard. You're able to go ahead and select the campaign type. You can see it comes with a whole set of pre-canned campaigns. So in this case, we've got Anytime Fitness, you've got eBay, Amazon Prime. You could go ahead, it's got a full HTML editor, so you could go ahead, open up any one of these, delete all of the text, drop in your own academic institution logo, for example, go ahead, write your message, and then sign it however you wish, and that could be your attack email. So effectively what you're creating here is the attack simulation email that you will send out in order to test your end users. After you've picked your attack or created a fresh and new one, you go ahead and pick your training module. The training modules are designed to do a number of different things. You can pick different ones based upon different types of attacks. So for example, you could go after a HIPAA specific, you can do just basic phishing testing, you can do one around attachments, you could do a training based on credential harvesting. The trainings themselves are not really designed to make your end users experts. It's not looking to certify them with any type of security certification. They're very short, they're quick, they're personalized. So if I were to get the email, I click on a link, I will be presented immediately with an indication that, hey, it'll call your name out, hey Tom, in the event that this was a real email, this was an attack. As a result, we request that you go through the training. So you go into the trainings are short. The trainings are designed to do nothing other than to make the end users more discerning in the way that they handle email. And you can begin to see that by managing the overall results. So in this case, you're looking at the dashboard. You can see that the campaign was started, how many of the emails went out, how many were opened, how many people clicked on the actual emails. If it were a credential harvesting campaign, you can see how many users actually went ahead and entered details, how many trainings were started based within the campaign, how many trainings were completed. So you get an overall view per campaign of the overall health of those recipients. And you can drill down. So in this case, this is one of my employees. I went ahead and phished him. I asked him to purposely fail. He's actually pretty smart, but he went ahead and failed 2 of these campaigns that I launched against him. And as a result, he got the badge of sushi. Now we have a little bit of fun with the different categories for each of the individuals. We'll probably change some of this as we fold it more into the Sophos brand. But we want to keep overall this sort of almost a gamification, these badges. It gives a good indicator to the IT administrator as to the overall health of an individual. But when you look at and you bubble this up, you get a good view of the overall health of an organization or a department. So you can begin to understand your overall security posture within an org based upon the phishing tests. To give you a little more color here, here's the actual what's referred to as the Phish Threat Index. And to be honest, this was one of the major reasons we made the acquisition of this company, is because they have all of these analytics and algorithms by which they build out this index. And this information for Sophos, for us, will feed directly into our larger strategy around synchronized security. Synchronized security being the technology that combines and integrates our endpoint security with our network security, whereby if one, for example, has routinely failed 5 or 6 times a phishing attack, it means that certain policy decisions might be enacted against them. For example, we're going to have to start blocking access to certain servers or blocking access to the internet, or there needs to be some sort of a proactive training environment or activity that takes place. So the differentiators around Phish Threat are simple. There's one, we're Sophos, we know security, At the beginning of this presentation, I talked quite a bit about the threat landscape, InterceptX and our next-gen endpoint protection, as well as XG Firewall and the work we do on the network side of the house. Unlike a lot of other vendors that are in this space, we do not also train on Office 365, SAP, or Oracle. We are dedicated 100% to security. So as a result, our attack simulation as well as our trainings are going to be the most recent and up-to-date. All of it's integrated within Sophos Central. So if you're a Sophos Central account today, or you're using Sophos Central to manage your endpoint or any of your wireless or email or web products, for example, or server, you'll be able to see that information all in the same dashboard. And the last one is this last piece that I just touched on, which has everything to do with synchronized security. So this is the ability by which we'll be able to correlate the data about a specific end user or their department, for example, getting a feel for their overall security posture such that the overall system can make an informed decision around endpoint or network moving forward. All of it's available today within Sophos Central, so if you're a Sophos Central account, you can jump in there, start a trial, begin to empower some of your end users, start creating an environment in which they're no longer the human firewall. And that is what I got. There's my email address. Happy to take email, and we can actually open it up for questions.
Thanks, Tom. This is Brandon here, and as people, hopefully people have a few questions here, but one comment I wanted to make is one thing that I've noticed, and it's kind of came up in some of the councils that I've been on here in the state, but it seems to be there's a division where people either get on this professional development and training the end users or solving it by solution and treating it almost like you have to be one or the other. And this finally, to me, lets us be able to say what I always thought it is it's both. You have to train and we have to educate our users and empower them to make the right decisions, but we also we need to prepare for the worst and prepare for when they make the wrong decision. So that's what was so exciting for me. I've lived more in that teaching and educating world, but I know that solutions are important. I think this really bridges the gap between that being kind of a polarizing philosophy. It's bringing us together to say, hey, I get it. We need to train. We need to empower our users, but we also better put the systems in that give us the best chance of success. So thank you for the slides and all that, and hopefully we open it up to questions, but really a great presentation. And I think, is there any questions out there yet?
We'll take a look. Let me jump into the console, see if anyone's tapped one in. You know, your point is a good one, and that is, you know, in this, you know, I've been in the security industry for a long time now, and we've always talked about ushering in this culture of security from the end users up, and that's always, I mean, that's always been a good mantra. We've always talked about that. We always say the best security is when you can percolate security through all users. The reality is that it's a really hard thing to do. As a result, it's always been a reactive measure. This is a proactive stance. This is proactively targeting. It's difficult to say sometimes, but you are targeting your own end users in order to force this lesson home. And as a result, what we're finding is rather than end users feeling alienated or hurt in some way that they've been targeted and they failed a campaign, they get it immediately. And they understand that, okay, I get it. I need to be more discriminating around email. I need to read, maybe I need to slow down a little bit. Right? So it's the combination of proactive email, web security out on the perimeter, as well as training the end user at their desk. No questions rolling in here. Not yet.
Okay. Well, maybe you could go to the next slide. I'll just maybe talk. I want to make sure while we do have the people on, we can talk about some of the promotions kind of tied to this. But as far as the events coming up, so next week here in Montana, we'll be at the MASS/Meditech event up in Helena. We'll be speaking on Sophos, kind of more of a broader look at the entire Sophos suite. We'll be in Wyoming for the Wyoming Tech Directors Conference in Casper, and then actually speaking and heavily involved at the Wyoming Cybersecurity Symposium in Cheyenne also next month. We'll be in Vegas for the Sophos Discover National Conference, which is always awesome, and then we're also speaking at the Montana Land Title Conference. We're one of their keynotes regarding cybersecurity. So just kind of throwing that out there. If you're going to be at one of those events, make sure you stop by and talk to us. And then, Tom, you can go to the next slide. This is something we're putting together just to kind of create a little bit more buzz. But for the month of March, we are running a promotion. So basically, any Sophos product, as far as licensing goes, if you buy 1 year of any of those Sophos products, we're going to give 6 months free. And if you buy 3 years of any of those products, we'll give an additional 4th year free. So just trying to create some buzz, and you can obviously email the email right on the page or email me directly. But we want to get something going to promote this and get you guys excited about what we are doing and what Sophos is doing for our customers. So I guess with that, if there's not any other questions, I'll certainly leave some silence there at the end to ask them, but please feel free to give us a call. We can do personal demos for this as well. We ran this internally about 30, 45 days ago and really got some tremendous results of how it works. We had some users that were scared to death, which was, I think, a success for us. I think it kind of showed them, you know, this being a real legitimate email away from having a severe problem. So yeah, give us a call, email us. We'd love to help. And again, thanks so much, Tom, for joining us. Really some powerful slides, and we'll keep fighting the fight with you guys.
Great. We can take any questions or comments on fly phishing techniques perhaps as well. I don't know.
Well, I wish I could say I'm an expert, but we probably have some people on the call that would blow me out of the water. Okay. Well, thanks again, Sophos, all the other people on the call, and thanks for everyone that attended. And we'll keep these going. We'll make this a consistent thing coming from Pine Cove to keep educating on our solutions and what we're bringing to you guys. So thanks again for joining, and we will send this recording out shortly.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.